Today's February, no, scrap that, March the 18th, maybe March the 19th. I'm okay today. I'm just checking in with myself. I don't know why I have this daft expectation that suddenly people will start watching these videos, because I'm not even putting them out there for anyone besides myself. Maybe I will start putting them out there when I feel that they're getting a bit better. I sent the link to the last story to a friend of mine who told me it's possibly best to start your storytelling with a hook. So if I were to say, today I'm going to talk about Alcoholics Anonymous and how it came about. It's a story of Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, but it's also a story of a slightly lesser known woman by the name of Marty Mann. Now, Marty Mann, all through the 30s, had a very similar story to Bill Wilson in that she bounced from state to state, quasi-functional, upper elitist, but yet seriously disturbed individual, spending time in and out of various different institutions. Finally, somebody said to her, there's something happening down in New York, similar to the Washingtonians. The Oxford House was the predecessor to the AA Fellowship, but was roughly ran along the lines of a strict religious discipline. So she had already tried that and it hadn't worked. So she got in contact with Bill at the time, and Bill and Lois hadn't even formulated or written the book at this stage. This is in 1939. She jumped on whatever mode of transport it was and beelined down to New York to meet up with Bill Wilson. Bill Wilson himself had been going from institute to institute and could never get more than a couple of weeks sobriety. One of his friends had put him in contact with the Oxford House, and he had problems with the religious connotations of their program. Sometime before Marty Mann arrived on the scene, Bill was going through this stage where he was drinking various different sleeping concoctions in a bid to try and stay sober. He had a very vivid dream in which he was at the top of a mountain and God appeared to him and told him that he was a free man. He woke up from that deep sleep and asked Lois to go and get some literature about dreams and dreams interpretations. And he read there that this was in fact a very common theme, that plenty of other people have shared their experiences of meeting with God on the top of a mountain and being told that they were free. He read in that book on dreams a passage which referred to having a belief in a higher power greater than yourself. And so he realized then that the difference between his thinking and the thinking of the Washingtonians was that you don't have to subscribe to any particular religious dogma. You just had to have a belief in something greater than yourself. So he had the foundation of a program, but he was still having difficulty staying sober. He was in a hotel on work-related business when he had an overpowering trigger, and instead of acting on it, he sought out another alcoholic to describe his experience. And that's when he came in contact with a surgeon and a fellow alcoholic by the name of Dr. Bob. Himself and Dr. Bob met in the lobby of that hotel, and in the course of 5 hours set out the basic principles of what later became Alcoholics Anonymous. Marty Mann played a lesser role in the foundation of Alcoholics Anonymous, and from 1937 until roughly the end of the 30s, the fellowship had very few females in it. There was actually, for every 2 men, there was only 1 woman. Dr. Bob had once joked with a fellow alcoholic, behind every skirt there is a slip. Somewhere towards the end of the 30s, actually, there was a separate group, which was alcoholics with a female flavor, that ran along the same principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, but sought a kind of a female empowerment. And so Marty Mann was equally as passionate about the fellowship as Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, but she knew that there was another element missing, and it was the medicalization of the ailment as a disease. It was not recognized at the time as a disease. So she formed the National Council of Alcoholism, which canvassed Congress to have this, to have alcoholism categorized as a disease. Lyndon Johnson, President Lyndon Johnson, was involved in the NCA in the early days, and with his help it was eventually brought over the line and was categorized as such. And this then allowed various treatment centers to form in a private capacity for the treatment of Alcoholics Anonymous, for the treatment of alcoholism as a disease. An interesting thing to note as well, just before alcoholism was categorized as a disease, the 3 of them sat down, or maybe it was more, and they penciled out the traditions, and that other part where Alcoholics Anonymous would not have a say in political or religious matters became ingrained into the founding principles of the fellowship.